Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. This is the LA South Hope Foundation. This is our presentation of the Chefing with Cheryl show, our monthly show, which is a part of the LA South Chamber of Commerce, the LA Hope Foundation, where we're helping other people every day. This is the Chefing with Cheryl show. This is a monthly show where we come on and we talk about food and all things wonderful. I'm Chef Cheryl Tate with Nurturing Chefs Personal Chef Services. I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you so much again for joining us. This is Women's History Month. Okay, so I have gathered up a wonderful team of women that are going to speak on women's history, that are going to speak on topics that affect women, that affect everyone. We know that without women, there's not too much we can't do. So, and I know everyone can attest to that. So we are going to speak on some topics today that is going to enlighten you, that is going to give you some information that you can take away. It's going to make your day better. It's going to make your life better. And you're going to have an aha moment. You're going to go, I didn't know that. So our first person that we are going to be having on our panel this morning is Regina White with Omni Community Alliance, and she will be our first presenter. So thank you so much, Regina, for being here. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and please.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Chef Cheryl. My name is Regina White. I am the president and founder of Omni Community Alliance. We are a organization that focuses on getting people off the streets, and that's from the beginning to the end. Whatever that their services are, we want to help them. Everyone that knows me knows that I've been through it, and with that, I took it and I ran with it, and I'm paying it forward. Actually, everybody pretty much knows about my background, but yes, this is Women's History Month, and if Chef Cheryl, are you ready for me to go into that? Yes. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, everybody. Well, since it's Women's History Month, there's a lot of unsung heroes that we know that never get a chance, and especially with our people of color, they never get a chance to know that this person did that, or they invented that, which we all know a lot of Black people have invented things that no one, we're just at this age now where we're getting to understand that. My presentation is going to be on my mom and my nanny, Catherine Louise Bennis and Bertha Wilson. And I'm going to read to you exactly what I wrote. So, for my sung heroes, as a woman, in memory of Catherine L. Bennis, a woman of pioneer, I'm just going to go into it. My mother was one of the pioneers of Teamsters Local 952 in Orange County. In 1962, she was hired there as the first Black woman data computer processor. And at the time when there were no jobs for Black people, that's how she started. She went to Catholic Girls High in Los Angeles. She got her education there in Los Angeles. She also lived in Jordan Downs. She went from Jordan Downs all the way to Orange County, and she became a woman of power. A day in remembrance of a woman that raised me and my big brother, Bishop Brett Molyneux of BCM Ministries of La Habra, California. Miss Catherine Bennis, our mom, was the first Black woman hired as a data processor computer operator at Alpha Beta main plant in La Habra, California in 1962. President J.F. Kennedy opened the doors for Blacks to have equality in the workforce. I can remember her telling me about the day he was assassinated. While at the job, he paved the way for her to acquire. She said that when the news came in that she was devastated, the only woman of color in the whole company. And there were so many people who were happy and voicing their happiness in his demise. Catherine, known as Kitty, was a Teamsters Local 952 of Orange County, a single mother in 1963, giving birth to a son, and in 1968, a daughter. She was well respected among her peers, friends, families, as well as her coworkers. Graduating in 1955 from Catholic Girls High School in Los Angeles, a strong, powerful woman, a force to reckon with, and my idol. And a grandmother that took the time to help me and my children, Dominique Desiree and Cortez Bennis Dixon, and assisted with their education while I worked after she retired in 1998. February 3rd, 2023 marked the 23rd anniversary of her death. Not a day goes by that I don't miss her, her sassy, go-get-'em attitude, and in her spirit. I love you, Mommy. I always will. And as the plate reads that you guys are looking at at the Inglewood Cemetery, as she rests down the hall from Mayor Tom Bradley, it says, "We will see each other again. Rest in peace in the Sunset Mausoleum." Our second woman, that's who you see, because they're probably saying, "What is that?" Actually, that's their crypt. That's where they are. They are together. They died 6 months and 2 days apart, but I was able to put them together. Now, the second lady is Roberta Wilson. She was born in Sweetport, Monroe, January 12, 1912. She came to California in 1942, following her husband, a Union Pacific Railroad employee. She made her way working for 25 cents an hour. She sent her older sister, Georgia Anna Neal, and her 6-year-old little girl, her niece, shortly thereafter, and began to pay her education as well. She is co-founder of Local 399, Kaiser Permanente Maintenance Workers Union in Los Angeles, California. She paved the way also for a lot of Black women. Her piano, she has a piano that is there, and it's named after her, and the room is named in her honor because she was one of those pioneers that got out there and started when they didn't want a union back then, and we know how far that goes back. I miss her very well. I miss her very much. To have both of them passed both 6 months and 2 days apart was a hard thing, but they left such a legacy for us to carry on. They believed in education first, make sure that you vote and be a good citizen, and don't always have your hand out. And that's one thing that I live to this day. You know, I will never be down. I will get up and pick myself back up and do what I have to do. That's my presentation for today. Did I go?
That is awesome, Regina. Thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry that they passed away so quick, together. I mean, those together. I know that can be devastating, but wow, that's such a legacy. It's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all to the union people out there. Much love to them because they believed in it.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Great, great, great. Our next presenter is Miss Isabel, I'm going to call her Miss Isabel Rutledge from Kangen Water. And she's going to speak on beauty and hydration, physical, financial, and emotional. Thank you, Miss Isabel, for being here. You want to give us a little intro and your wonderful information on water.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this time, this opportunity to be a light information, because the more we know, the better we can make decisions. As you can see in the first slide that I have here, there's a baby, and then there's an old person. When we're born, we're about 90% alkaline, and that's why we smell so delicious. And we bounce practically because we're all water, we're a bag of water. And then when we start going in the other direction, acidity, then things kind of don't smell so good. And everything starts dehydrating and getting cracked on the outside and in the inside. So we have to understand that staying alkaline, staying hydrated is very important. And when I started drinking Kangen water, my body was giving up. I was almost 300 pounds, and I was not able to do very much at all. My organs, my asthma, everything was kind of going in the wrong direction. So in the next slide, you will see that our body is 70 to 75% water. Our brain is 80% water. So if you have a headache, it's not because you're lacking an aspirin, it's because you're lacking water, because the brain takes priority over everything. And so if your brain is dehydrated and you're having a headache, that means that all your other organs, your bones, your muscles, your blood are suffering. So when there's a headache, make sure you drink lots of water. And you don't need aspirins. You don't need any of those things. As you see on the bottom, the blood is 90.7% water. So if you're drinking enough water, there's high blood pressure and diabetes and all those things that have to do with your blood, you will highly limit those illnesses. So we have to really do our best and check out the kidney. The kidneys are 82.7 water. Muscles are 75.6. So you have to really check out your body, examine your body, how you feel, and determine, are you drinking enough water? And the quality of the water is very important because, you know, we know that there are different qualities of water that we drink. And some of them are actually very polluting. Bottled water has no regulation at all. Our country does not regulate bottled water, and they can just be taking it straight from the tap and bottling it, and there's no supervision on that. The next slide, please. So then what I drink, and I've been drinking since 1908. And 2008, I'm sorry, wow, I said, wow, that far. 2008, I've been drinking this water that is highly antioxidant. When you drink a glass of this water, it's like having a bowl of blueberries, and it's very alkaline. And it's microclustered. Microclustered means that it's very, very thin water. So when you take a sample of this water out of the machine and you put a tea bag in there, the tea bag will start releasing tea immediately, and you will have very strong tea with cold water. Because when you go to make tea, what you're doing is you heat water so that it thins the water. Sometimes you leave it on the stove so long, it thins so much that it just evaporates. But when you get water out of your Kangen water machine, it is already thin, and you can make tea right away. Alkalinity is very important because our bodies are alkaline on the inside and acid on the outside. Antioxidants that takes care of those free radicals in your body that are causing inflammation. And we have to make sure that we have an alkaline and antioxidant diet. So hopefully we will talk about diets and in the future, but it is so important. Next slide, please. Now here we have an example of antioxidant and oxidity. When you cut an apple in half, you will see that it starts dying right away, because our air, we breathe oxygen, and it is acidic. And you know that people that live near a freeway or near some factory, whatever that is polluting the air, people there have a higher rate of cancer and other illnesses. So our air is very polluted. So when you cut an apple, try it at home, cut an apple and let it sit there, and you will see how quickly it starts dying, or an avocado. So we have to have antioxidant water. The apple on the right was sprayed with Kangen antioxidant water, so it resists the deterioration. Next, please. And here we have a scale of the alkaline and the acidic. So we do have to do our best to eat properly and stay on the alkaline side. And when we drink liquor, when we smoke, when we do drugs, when we have a lot of stress, many times people say stress kills you, and it certainly does. So that is on the acidic side. So we have to make sure that we love ourselves so much that we are going to get away from stress, stressful people, stressful environments, and always think positive, because that is what keeps you going. I always tell everybody when they say, "How are you?" I say, "I'm as gorgeous as ever." It doesn't matter if my fence fell down, because I actually have people fixing my fence right now. It doesn't matter, if the rain doesn't let me go do my exercise, whatever, I don't get stressed out, because I want to make sure I stay on the alkaline side. Thank you. Next one, please. Now, here is a sample of the micro-clustering of our Kangen water. The Kangen water comes out of your machine very, very small. And regular water, bottled water, or any other water other than this medical machine from Japan, they actually use this machine in the hospitals in Japan. You will see that the water from the faucet is very big water. So we're talking about big water and small water that hydrates you immediately. The big water, when you drink it, you can feel it in your tummy. You can jump around and you will feel it moving, and you will actually have pain sometimes. But when you drink Kangen water, it goes straight to your cells, and it penetrates your cells, and it takes out toxins. And when you poop and you pee, you are pooping totally different, and you feel energy. Next one, please. Here is Dr. Hiromashina. He invented the colonoscopy, and he would, when people would come to him because they felt that, and he was practicing in New York, and you can look him up. And he already retired, but he was the top surgeon. And so he invented the colonoscopy. And he would tell people that before he could see them, they would have to drink Kangen water for at least 3 to 4 weeks, because the Kangen water cleans out your intestines, and it gives him a clearer view, and also hydrates, and it allows him to do a better job. So the Kangen water was something that he recommends in his book. This is a very, very popular book. He's a doctor from Japan that worked here in New York for half of the year, and in Japan the other half of the year. And as I said, they use Kangen water machines in the hospitals in Japan, because in Japan, the government pays for your health care. So they don't want you to be sick. Next one, please. Here you could see that there are a lot of times that you will see on the news or everywhere where they are recalling salads or anything, chickens or whatever it is. Now, when it comes to those recalls, people have already gotten sick. Some people have already died. Now, in the Kangen water machine, it makes 7 levels of water, and it makes one of them that actually kills E. coli, staph, mold, and other bacteria. And when you make it, it smells like bleach. But if you have food poisoning, you're allowed to drink like a shot glass, and it kills the bacteria that is making you throw up or have issues in your stomach. So you don't have to go to the hospital for food poisoning anymore. Once you have your Kangen water machine and are able to make your 2.5 to take care of those problems. Also, if you have any cuts or burns, the 2.5, what it does, it immediately kills any bacteria that goes into your skin, and then it seals it, and the pain goes away. When you take the Kangen water 2.5 off, the pain comes back, because the air, the bacteria in the air goes into the cut. So once you cover it up with 2.5, it starts healing right away. Next one, please. This, I don't know if you know what that is, but this is your homework. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This is something that makes me cry. We are destroying our ocean. Imagine the fish, the turtles, all the things that we're destroying, and we're not allowing the sun to go down into the ocean and create the life that it needs. So the life in the ocean is dying, and it's our fault. Bottled water is most of what you see in here, but there's all kinds of plastics. So I make a conscious decision to use glass in everything, because plastic, it doesn't deteriorate. It only gets smaller and smaller, and then the fish are eating it, the animals are eating it, and then they are not developing, and we're eating them. But your homework is to check out the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. It is the size of Texas, and it's about 5 to 2,000 feet deep. So you have to really understand that it is very important for us to stop using plastic. And when you buy your Kangen water machine, you no longer need to buy bottled water. When the shelves were empty for the COVID, you don't have to worry about that. People with Kangen water machines were giving water away to people. So next one, please. So please do your homework, look up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. These are people with tons of money. People that don't have to worry about, oh, excuse me, don't have to worry about money at all. And they can research and see what is the best thing they can have in their home. And they all have not one, but several of these machines in their homes, in their large homes. And they have them in their boats, and wherever they go, they're always drinking Kangen water. Now, Kangen water does not pay them to advertise, doesn't pay anybody to advertise. When you buy your Kangen water machine, you are the advertising, your look. I'm 70 years old right now, and thank God my health was completely recuperated. But you get when you buy a machine, you get a distributor number, you decide to use it or not. But it gets paid to advertise, because you as a distributor are the one that gets paid for every sale. Next. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Isabel. I'm definitely going to, pardon me, look up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Thank you.
I love going on Google Earth and seeing places on the planet. So I bet that's on Google Earth too. Yes, I have a question. I have a question regarding, you were talking about, alkalinity, and when the babies come out, they're bouncing babies. They're bouncing because they're full of water. They're full of alkaline water. Is that what it is? So when we get older, we don't bounce anymore.
Yes, they're completely alkaline. And when they fall, they can't break anything because they're so full of water. Their bones, everything is just water. And that's why they're so flexible when they come out of the womb.
That's interesting. That's really interesting information, because, when babies are born, when they come out, birth is traumatic. And, when they come out, it's like, oh, look, they just, they're very flexible. I just, it's something noticing that as a mother, when you have your child, that they're very flexible. And then, as they get older, or when they're, just very young, they are very pliable. I always wondered why that was.
Yes, indeed. So we need to stay on that side as much as possible, because the other side is painful and not flexible.
I see. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next, we have the beautiful Shamika Carter Mitchell, who is going to speak on the history of women's health. Thank you, Shamika. You want to tell us about yourself, please?
Of course. Good morning, ladies and gents. I am Shamika Carter, a board certified adult and gerontology nurse practitioner. My company is True Care Telehealth and House Calls Practice. We are a primary preventative healthcare practice for people 40 years and over. This means we teach you how to notice abnormal patterns in your body, and then we educate you on the importance of getting your annual physical exams, your annual labs, and we help schedule your health screenings. We also do some of the health screenings for the patients. So this is one of my favorite subjects, obviously, because I'm a woman. And then second of all, because I've witnessed so many women die as a result of preventable diseases because they ignored the symptoms. So in virtually every culture, women have a history of meeting everyone's needs before attending to their own. This trend has become the norm, and maybe due to some social expectations surrounding the roles of women, like people don't know we shouldn't be putting ourselves after everyone else. And it needs to change effective immediately. So I'll tell you why. Whenever you get on a plane, if you've ever been on a plane, I know you notice that the captain says, if we get in an emergency and the plane is going down, anything, the first thing you're supposed to do is put on your own oxygen first, because without your oxygen, you can't save anyone. With your oxygen, you can help other people. So we have to practice that. Many women experience huge communication barriers when they visit their doctors. And it's not just communication barriers because they don't understand the language. It's generally because they don't understand the medical jargon that's being spewed at them. And they don't want to, out of embarrassment or whatever, just don't like the doctor. They don't want to ask the doctor, can you break that down for me in, modern day terms so I can understand? Instead of doing that, they just walk away and they're like, I'm not going back there, or I'm not going back to this person, this doctor, unless I really need them. And that is not good. That absolutely has to stop. This attitude put women at significant risk for preventable diseases. And if they already have a disease like diabetes, high blood pressure, things like that, then it causes the disease to progress, because generally you don't have a lot of symptoms in the beginning stages of these disorders. So it's just progressing in your body and you don't know it, but a simple doctor's appointment, a simple screening could stop it in the beginning, and it could be taken care of. Caring for women as they age requires knowledge and understanding of the many physical and mental changes that occur during a woman's lifetime. So here's I put a list of changes that take place in a woman's body as she ages, right? The first is hormonal changes. Hormonal patterns begin to change in the late 30s to your early 50s due to fluctuating, often higher than normal estrogen and occasionally lower than normal progesterone levels. These fluctuations cause things to look and often feel chaotic. This phase is referred to as the perimenopausal or menopausal transition. What you could do for that is not a whole bunch, because it's a part of life we have to go through, but you can take supplements to help decrease some of the symptoms. The next thing is bone integrity. Bones form 15% of our body weight. Bones provide structure to our body, protect our vital organs, store calcium, and help in anchoring our muscles. The recommended daily allowance for women for calcium, women between the ages of 19 and 50 should have 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day. Women between the ages of 51 to 70 years old should have 1,200 milligrams of calcium a day. If you look at Caltrate, the supplemental calcium in the grocery store or in the drugstore, they start at about 600 milligrams. So if you pop 2 of those, that'll take care of your daily allowance. Factors that affect bone health are low calcium levels. You're not taking your supplements, or you're not getting enough calcium in your nutrients, your foods that you're taking in daily. Physical inactivity, don't use it, you lose it. And low estrogen levels as we age causes our calcium to take a dip. So make sure you're taking calcium supplements. The next subject is vaginal cancer. We don't really know what causes vaginal cancer, but what we do know is that the virus HPV leads to vaginal cancer. And then having multiple sexual partners puts you at increased risk for vaginal cancer. Most women are diagnosed with vaginal cancer after the age of 50. And the common signs and symptoms for vaginal cancer are unusual vaginal bleeding, a vaginal mass or lump, frequent urination, painful urination, watery vaginal discharge, constipation, and pelvic pain. If you have any of those symptoms, you need to run to your doctor. Don't walk, get to your doctor and make you a doctor's appointment. The next is prolapse. The most common are bladder prolapse and uterine prolapse. They're common in the Asian woman. And back in the days, we used to see a lot of commercials about those vaginal mesh. What the vaginal mesh is a piece of cloth, and it holds either the uterus or the bladder up in place so it doesn't fall into the vaginal vault. And then later we start seeing lawsuits, vaginal mesh lawsuits. And the reason we were seeing lawsuits is because those vaginal mesh were causing women to become incontinent, where they were urinating on themselves. It was causing a lot of infections. And then some of the women had to get hysterectomies as a result of those vaginal mesh. One way to prevent a prolapse is doing your Kegel exercises. Just simple during your Kegel exercises. It strengthens the pelvic floor muscles, which help keep those structures in place, keep the bladder in place, keep the uterus in place. I did exams, PAPs on 2 women, bladder prolapse and a uterine prolapse. They don't hurt, it's not painful, but it's very uncomfortable. It's like you have something sitting between your legs at all times right there, and you're like sitting to the side. So it's very uncomfortable. Kegel exercises. Mental acuity is next. Shift in levels of the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone, can cause mood changes at other stages in life, and they could have some effect on the mood during the menopausal transition or perimenopausal phase. This starts at about 40 years old. So if you notice yourself having abnormally high levels of stress or depression where it becomes debilitating, you find yourself calling off of work a lot or not able to function in a normal way, then you need to seek professional help, because it's probably not you, it's probably just your hormones all over the place, and you just need to simply stabilize them and you'll be okay. The next is breast health. Changes in breasts occur as a result of low estrogen levels and changes in skin elasticity. Aging also increases the risk of developing growths such as fibroids, cysts, and cancer, all of which can affect the appearance of the breast. So self-examinations and mammograms are super duper uber important to women. You got to get your mammograms, and you have to be checking your own breasts when you take a bath, daily or every other day, however often your bath schedule is. You need to be checking your breasts for any abnormal lumps, discharge from the areola, or any dimpling in or around the breast tissue. Doctors most commonly diagnose breast cancer in women over the age of 50, okay? The next is benign tumors. There's so many benign tumors, and if we must have a tumor, we want it to be benign. And the reason we want it to be benign is because this is just a mass of tissue that has just grown. And all they have to do is go in and remove that tissue and you're all good. The most common benign tumor on women are the fibroid tumors. I know a lot of women that have fibroid tumors, and it's mostly genetic. If a woman has a fibroid tumor, I tell you she has fibroids, ask her, do your mother or sister or aunt have fibroids? And she's gonna point to one of those people because it has a genetic disposition. The next is malignant tumors. Malignant tumors are cancerous. Usually when they're caught in the earliest stages, they can be successfully removed. The most common are breast tumors. This is why it's so important to get our screenings done on schedule every year, because prevention is better than cure. And early detection saves lives. I know that's a cliche. We hear people say it all the time, but I'm a witness, ladies. It is 100% true. Prevention is better than cure. Early detection saves lives. If you catch it in its earliest phase, it's like a baby. You could get rid of, I mean, I hate to say get rid of and baby in the same sentence, but it is what it is. You can get rid of it really easy if it's in its earliest phases. So primary prevention starts early with knowing your body. Check daily for any unusual lumps or discoloration. Do not ignore pain, and never, ever, 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 ever allow anyone to minimize your pain. It's your pain, it's your body. You take care of it. Get your pap smears. If you're of age, after the age of 75, you're no longer required to have a pap smear or mammogram. So when we get there, we don't have to worry about those little annoyances anymore. But if you're under 75, you need to schedule those things as your doctor say or as ordered. Get your labs drawn yearly and ask for an appointment to exclusively discuss the results on your lab work. A lot of times we get our labs drawn and you go back to the doctor and he say, everything is good, everything is good. No, 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 no. That's not what we want. I want to come in, I want to sit down and I want to discuss everything on my lab panel. I want to know if it's too high, if I'm therapeutic right in the middle, or if I'm too low. And what do I need to do to get it therapeutic right in the middle? Okay. Ladies, we're needed in the community, but we're no good to anyone else if we're not good to ourselves. So we must start putting ourselves first. Thank you so much. I'm Shamika Carter with True Care Telehealth, and that's my presentation. I can't hear you, Chef.
No, here I am right here. Thank you,
There you
Shamika. So I just wanted to, I have some questions because that was a lot of information and I'm a question asker. Okay, so pardon me. Can a prolapsed uterus or a bladder, can it be corrected? I mean, just through Kegels?
Well, it could be corrected. Kegels is for prevention. Okay, Kegels is not for correction. Kegels is for prevention. It could be corrected. They were using the mesh. They have a different material now that they're using. And what it does is they put it back up and it holds it into the structure. It holds it where it's supposed to be. If you have a mesh or any foreign tissue or anything in your body, you got to make sure you're going to the doctor every 6 months to every year to have that checked out. Because like I said earlier, they were doing all those lawsuits with the vaginal mesh because it was causing women to urinate on themselves.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, calcium supplements. Okay, I'm not a pill taker. So okay, just decided, here I am a chef. So they're just yams. I mean, what would be, if you're not taking calcium supplements and as a healthcare professional, what would you suggest? As a healthcare professional, not a pill, but what would you suggest?
So for me, Chef, supplements is life. I take supplements, but if I wasn't, then I would take calcium-rich foods like spinach, like drink milk, calcium-rich foods. The green leafies have a kale. Exactly. It has a lot of calcium in it. But as we age, like get over 40, processes start to slow down. So our bodies don't break down and absorb as much of the nutrients as it should. So we should be taking some type of supplements just to ensure that we're getting enough calcium, because calcium is one of those things, it depletes the perimenopausal phase, make it deplete, not exercising makes it deplete. So many things make it deplete in a woman's body that we have to make sure we're getting that 1,000 milligrams if you're between 19 and 50 years old. And if you're 51 to 70 years old, you should be getting 1,200 milligrams a day.
A day. Okay. All right.
So to answer your question, spinach, kale, those green leafies and milk, supplement, things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So what you're saying is, yes, eat good food, but still take the supplements.
If you're over 40.
If you're over 40. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So this, I just really wanted to bring home this subject because, you know, we always think about calcium and, you know, of course, first thing we go to is milk, and some of us are lactose intolerant, so that we tend to back away from that. So it's definitely, I just definitely wanted to bring that subject out. I see we have some hands raised. Miss Isabel?
Yes, I was wondering if you could explain how you do a Kegel and how often one should do it.
Okay. So Kegels is just squeezing the muscles, squeezing the pelvic floor muscles. So, you know, a perfect example is, have you ever, and I'm sure we all have, had to use the bathroom really, really bad and you're holding it? Have you done that before? If you have, then you're Kegeling. You're tightening the muscles down there. So that's what you do. You hold it for 10 seconds and then you release. Hold it. You count up to 10 because it's not all, if you're not used to doing it, then it takes a while to get to 10 seconds. But you practice. Practice makes perfect. No one knows you're doing it. You could be in a meeting, you could be anywhere. You're just squeezing the muscles and just releasing, squeezing and releasing. Nobody knows but you and God.
That's awesome. That was a great question too. Regina, you had a question?
Yeah, you know what? I think it's kind of answered because I wondered what the mesh, what is the purpose of a mesh?
So the purpose of a mesh is when let's just use the uterus, for example, because that was the last one. I'm going to tell you guys a story. It'll take 30 seconds. No, I had a patient come in January 2021. She was a 57-year-old female. She had been celibate for 14 years. She met a guy. She became intimate with him. She said during their intimate times, it would be so painful, she would be hitting him on the back sometime. One day she got in the shower and she felt something drop. She didn't know it wasn't painful. She just felt it drop. She went to the doctor. The doctor stood at the door. He didn't do any examination. He just wrote her an order because of her age. He just wrote her an order to the urologist, which is the urine doctor. When she came in, she was sitting on the side. I noticed she was sitting on the side. I'm a nosy nurse. I ask 1,000 questions because I need to get down to the answer of what's going on. So I told her, come on, let's do a pap smear. We did a pap smear. It was actually her uterus had dropped into her vaginal canal. So what they do with that is they go in and they either, you could get a hysterectomy if you're over have gone through that perimenopausal phase and you're menopausal, you get a hysterectomy and just get it removed, or you could have them lifted back where it's supposed to be and they put the mesh there to hold it in that structure. But you have to follow up because, again, not too long ago, they were suing over those vaginal mesh. It's supposed to be better, but it's science. You know, science, there's mistakes in science. So you have to follow up with your gynecologist. You have to keep your appointments. That's what the mesh is for. It's to hold the uterus or hold the bladder in place so it's not sitting right there in the vaginal canal.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow. Wow.
Yes, Miss Lorraine.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Miss Lorraine, your hand is up.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
thank you. So one of the things that I've always been wanting to ask, and I'm glad that Chef Cheryl has organized this kind of forum. So thank you, Chef Cheryl. So it seems that once you kind of hit the menopausal stage of your life, UTI is like a constant, maybe not constant, but it's something that we have to deal with. And like Chef Cheryl, I am not crazy about taking pills either. So is there anything, or are there any other prescriptions that you can suggest that would allow us to deal with those situations when they do occur?
Yes. Okay. I know you guys have heard, they call it a myth, but I'm gonna tell you why it's not a myth, that cranberry juice helps with urinary tract infections. Well, we're not talking about cranberry juice drink. We're not talking about that. It only has 10%, cranberry juice drink only has 10% juice. No, we're talking about 100% cranberry juice. And what it does is cranberries have a substance in it that causes the bacteria to slide off the bladder wall. So when you urinate, you drinking cranberry juice, 100% cranberry juice. When you're drinking cranberry juice, that substance that's in cranberries, it will cause the bacteria to just slide off the bladder wall and slide into, you pee it out, you urinate it out. So during the Thanksgiving season, I like every other week, my kids think I'm crazy. I get a bag of those cranberries that they have on sale, and I just blend them up and take them. I don't get urinary tract infections. That could be why. It could be other reasons too. But again, you could drink cranberry juice, 100% cranberry juice, or you could take cranberry tablets. Yeah. That's an alternative to. Another thing is, I want to mention this since you brought that up. Another reason women get recurrent urinary tract infections is because whenever a person, not just women, but whenever a person have a urinary tract infection, we do this thing called culture insensitivity. And the reason we do that is we want to see what is that organism that's causing the infection, what's it sensitive to and what's it resistant to. And a lot of times, initially, we have to put you on an antibiotic, right? If the doctor don't go back and see if that organism is resistant or sensitive to that antibiotic, then you're taking the antibiotic for nothing if it's resistant, because the organism is resisting it. So you never get rid of the urinary tract infection. You never really get rid of it. You just minimize the symptoms, and then a little while later, the organism build back up, the bacteria builds back up, and you're back at the doctor again with another one. It's not because you're constantly getting them, it's because you never really got rid of the first one. No one checked to see if that organism was resistant to this antibiotic or not. It has to be sensitive to that. The organism has to be sensitive to that particular antibiotic, or it ain't gonna do nothing. It ain't gonna do nothing but cause it to minimize the symptoms. You'll get rid of a lot of it, but over time, remember, bacteria replicate. They break and cause more and more. So that's why a couple of months later, you're like, I got another urinary tract infection. What happened? Well, we never really got rid of the first one. But with antibiotics, you always should be taking cranberry juice too, because that's a natural substance. It has that thing in it that causes the bacteria to slide off the bladder wall, and you urinate it, you pee it right in the toilet. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, you did. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, you did. You gave us a mouthful. That's awesome. Awesome. Miss Karen. Miss Karen.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Shamika, my question is supplements. Is there such a thing as taking too many supplements? For a while, I was taking so many, I just literally had to cut it down. And now I'm just taking one, but considering another, but I don't want to be on that merry-go-round of constantly taking pills. So that's my question.
My B12 level was like at 2000 and the norm is supposed to be now, hey, I was trying to lose weight, and B12 is known to speed up the metabolism and all those things. So I was going and getting those B12 injections, and not one doctor said, let's check your B12 level. I learned that we have to check those nutrient levels. So there's tests, there's labs. I'm a huge proponent for lab work, for checking your blood. There's tests that check your magnesium, it checks your calcium, You know, it checks your potassium, it checks your B12, your B1. So you should be having your labs drawn at least yearly so you could have a baseline for where you're at. And then you're taking your supplements every day to replenish what you're not getting in your foods. And if you feel awkward, again, we have to know our own normal body patterns. So if anything feels off, then you go to the doctor and you make sure that at the top of the list you have, I'm taking these supplements. What do you think about it? Or can we draw my labs to see if I'm subtherapeutic, have too much or way too little? And that's how you know. I generally tell people, get your labs drawn so you can know exactly what you need. I was super duper low on vitamin D, and most Black Americans are low on their vitamin D level. Vitamin D is called vitamin D, but it's actually a hormone. Go figure. But you know, vitamin D is responsible for so many things, and one thing is immune health. So a lot of African Americans are low on vitamin D. It's as simple as getting your labs drawn to see where you are, and then again making a separate appointment to talk about nothing but the labs. I don't want you to touch me. All I want you to do is tell me what's on this lab report. Am I too high? Am I in the middle? Or am I way too low? And that's what that appointment is for. So, Karen, did I answer your question? I always get too much.
You know,
I can talk about this all day, Chef.
And that's a good thing. Women, you know, our health is our first wealth, as we always say. So we can never have enough conversation about that. Lorraine, you have your hand up again. You have another question, or is this just a mistake here?
Because we're at 10:51.
Okay, thank you.
I have another question.
Yes.
Right. So Nurse Shamika was talking about having too much of maybe, you know, having your labs done and having too much of one thing or the other. So what would you do in a situation where you've had your labs and in fact your calcium levels are too high? Because we're told that we have to take calcium. I take calcium with vitamin D all the time. So do you just stop taking calcium tablets just to get your levels back to normal? Or how important? What's the big deal about having calcium levels that are too high? What's the big deal? You know, we don't know.
It causes tetany, it causes abnormal movement, and it throws everything off. Anything too high is going to throw your balance off, throw your body balance off. So if you've had your labs drawn and your calcium levels is high, then your doctor is supposed to put you on a regime. Your doctor or practitioners. You guys are going to see a lot of nurse practitioner practices in California because we just got authoritative permission this past January 2023. Anyway, your doctor or practitioner should be putting you on a regime where you're not taking calcium for 3 months and then recheck the levels.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty.
I had you know, always informative. I just love you. My question would be, how can we find a doctor that we can trust that will, because I know there's a lot of differences. You know, they're thinking about money, right? Thinking about, you know, I mean, just like with my shots that I get, they're all thinking about money. And you're correct. They always say, I ran your stats, but they don't tell you anything. How do you find a decent doctor that, you know, will kind of listen to you? And what do you suggest first? What should we do to find a doctor that we can? I mean, you're great, but you're way out in the hills. What does a woman do?
You're supposed to if when you're locating a provider, you're supposed to act as if you're fishing. You make a doctor's appointment, you go to the doctor. If it's not the right fit, if he's too aggressive, if he's not listening, throw him back in and find another one and make it's like that. Unfortunately, that's how it is because we're human and everybody is different, right? So you literally have to shop. It's kind of, my mom always tells me it's like fishing. If this is not the right one, then you got to throw it back in and go back fishing again to get another one. That's the only way until you find someone that fit what you need, your particular individualized needs. And it takes some time, it does. I'm not gonna lie, but it's worth it because it's your body, it's your health. And like Chef said, without your health, you're dead, you're dying every day prematurely.
Pretty much so, yes.
Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you so much. Belinda, did you have a question?
I do. Hi, good morning.
Hi.
So just piggybacking on that question about finding, she said decent doctor. What are your thoughts about this? It's new to me. It's probably been going on for a while, but concierge doctor, because that was something that was introduced to me. I was, having some medical issues that I had been going to my doctor faithfully and neurologist and, kind of been, just pushed to the side about this, health concern that I had, that I just would not take no for an answer. Talking to a girlfriend and had told me about this doctor, like, hey, go see this person. And, and I finally, found the doctor and made an appointment and, was really happy, excited, especially was a woman of color. And so anyway, go to the appointment, and at the end of it, it ended up being a concierge, format that I could not afford. And so it was really disheartening, and I really almost just cried. So nevertheless, I ended up not, pursuing that particular doctor because they were going into this new concierge platform that was beyond my, what I could afford. So can you share some thoughts about that, please?
Yeah, I love concierge. We started off as concierge, and like you just said, most of the concierge practices, you're going to notice that they're top notch, right? It's because, and make sure if you find a concierge practice, they have 5+ years experience, because that's when you're going to get the best bang for your buck. But they also accept HSA, that insurance that we pay into, that health services account. It's something like that, but they also accept that. That's an option. Concierge practices are a little expensive. It depends. You're not going to find too many doctors that accept insurances that are as good, as thorough, as attentive as a concierge, because look, you're paying cash and cash rules. The doctors that are being paid by the health insurances, they're being paid for a 20-minute visit, and that includes our documentation too. So they have a lot to do in 20 minutes. You're not going to get the best bang for your buck. I think your question is, what do I think about concierge practices? I think they're awesome. And how do you pay for it? If you can't afford it, then you have to look into other ways if that's what you prefer. Like I said, HSA, they accept that HSA accounts and those FSA accounts too as payment. So, but yeah, they can be a little pricey. All of them are not very pricey. And then the other thing is nurse practitioner. A nurse practitioner concierge would be much less expensive than a physician concierge, because it's a doctor as opposed to a nurse practitioner. But nurse practitioners are very knowledgeable. As you can see, I'm a nurse practitioner, adult and gerontology nurse practitioner. So we know our stuff. That's how you can get one for a less price than a doctor. A doctor is king. They have 20 years of education and experience and internship and all of that. We're going to pay for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Okay, well, last but not least, we have the greats here. So I'm Chef Cheryl Tate with Nurturing Chefs Personal Chef Services. And my section of this webinar is Women of Historical Mention that must not be forgotten. These are some women that have paved the ways for what we commonly are experiencing right now. So we're gonna, even though we're at the 10:59 hour, I am going to make this out. As I always say, I won't be long, but I will be strong. Okay, so we're going to talk about Lena Richard. Okay, and this is a culinary pioneer. So before there was the Food Network, before there was Martha Stewart, or before there was Julia Childs, there was Lena Richard. Okay, so this woman right here, and this is what I found just in researching. I started Googling, okay, well, where are some culinary pioneers? Where can I find one? And in our culture, the first thing we thought of was Julia Childs, or, we're going to mention a man or something, the Galloping Gourmet or something like that. But, I thought she was the foundation. Well, gosh, if you look a little closer, you're going to find a Black person. Dr. Clyde Anderson always says, if you find any sort of historical content, you're going to find a Black person. Okay, so this is Miss Lena Richard, and she is amazing. Okay, in 1949, she had her own television show. Okay, she was broadcasting twice a week live on television in New Orleans. Okay, so that, gosh, 1949, that was even before civil rights. So she really had to have been doing something that got the attention of everyone. Okay, she was a classically trained chef, and what had happened was that, of course, in that time, Black people were doing domestic work, and she was in the kitchen working. But the owners found she had something that was a little bit better than just cooking and just serving. So they sent her to school. They sent her to school in Boston. And even when she got to school in Boston, she found that she knew more than the students there. She knew more than the teachers were there. Her culinary background, it shadowed over everyone else's. So, she knew she had an edge. She knew she had an edge, and she went with it. Next slide, please. So this woman, and she wrote and published her own book. Okay, and this was in 1939. Okay, and it was called Lena Richard's Cookbook. Okay, as you see, she the one on the with her picture on it, she published this cookbook, and she made sure she had simple dishes. This was New Orleans. Okay, so it was all the wonderful Creole cooking that we all know and love now, that she made recipes for. And when she wrote this book, she was very conscious of the times. So she said, look, we're gonna write this book because we want to elevate, all these cooks out here, that you can maybe go and work instead of just working in the house. You can go be a chef. She even had her own cooking school. Okay, so we're talking about a chef, a TV host, an entrepreneur. She had her own restaurant. She even had her own frozen dinners that she was shipping throughout the country. So I don't even know how, if Swanson was around back then, but she pioneered these things. This is awesome. So here is her self-published books, New Orleans Cookbook by Lena Richard. So as time went on, publishers picked up her book, and as you can see in the middle, they took her face off the cover, and they also took her name off the cover. Okay, and so of course we know this is racism. This is how it works. But James Beard and another culinary pioneer said, her name was, I can't say, James Beard and Clementine Paddleford. They went to Hoffman Mifflin, who had published this book, and said, you have to again put her book back in circulation, and you put her name on the book. Okay, because this is information that everyone needs to know. We're not going to diminish this person just because of her color, because she was a pioneer, and we have to elevate this person at this time. She had her own restaurant. She had a couple of restaurants. Next slide, please. She had her own restaurant. there's so many things that she did in the realm of culinary that we talk about now. She was doing before civil rights. So this is one person I just have to say, my heart goes out to this person, just awesome, awesome pioneer. She died at a very young age. I mean, so the family had to, kept everything together, but just what she did by herself, we cannot let this person go without being noticed. So when you think about gumbo, when you think about all this thing, we can talk about Dookie Chase. We can talk about all those other culinary pioneers. She paved the way for them. So I have to take my hat off to this person. Most of when she wrote it, she had, her audience was white people, but soon everyone else caught on. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm going to run on. This is Claire McCardle. Okay, she is the pioneer of sportswear. Now, when we have statues, and there's statues all over the United States or all over the world, but not too many women's statues. She was from Frederick, Maryland. They made sure that they elevated this woman by giving her a statue. So many of you don't know, but before I was a chef, I was a fashion designer. I made patterns. I, worked in the industry for about 15 years. So we had to, I have a fashion background. So we had history of fashion. And this person, came across, and, I was enthused by her because, of course I love clothes, but I was enthused by her because she created sportswear. Okay. When we think of Paris and the runways and all those fun frocks and everything, she created sportswear because she understood that American women and European women had different lifestyles. We're more active. We're doing things. So she created clothes that were easy for us to move about in. And one of the things she created was called a monastic dress, but it's a kaftan. Okay, it's a great big garment that, you can go out in, you can have fun in. It's just wonderful, wonderful clothing. Next slide, please. So she even made the cover of Time magazine. Okay, the creators women's sportswear, she defied Christian Dior. Okay, so when I think of her, and even though we had swimsuits back then, she made cute little jumpers. So if we can think of all the all the uniforms or outfits, I like to think of college football with with the drill team and everything. They had on little sizzler pants and everything. This came from this woman created that, and we wanted to say she created the bifurcated look, which is really just a way of saying pants. Okay. Pants, for men, that was fine. But she created it for women, and she did so many different creations. She followed different designers to create something that was all her own. To create something all her own. And this woman just has to be elevated. Next slide, please. So these are some of her designs, okay? So right over here on the right, this looks like something from 2023, okay? With the hood and the shearing and the gathering, somebody would wear this. Somebody would wear this today, okay? And I've always been a fan of pleats, okay? So if you can see this dress with the pleats and everything, she created these outfits so we could be more free. Okay, so we could, when we go out, we can be fashionable and still be comfortable. Okay, because us as American women, we're always doing things. We want to look good. We want to, look good in what we do. And we want to feel good in what we do. So, just as all these creations are here, Coco Chanel said, imitation is the highest form of flattery. So anytime if you go out today or anytime you see some fashion, think about where it came from, because we all know when Coco Chanel did that box jacket, this box jacket's being duplicated all over the planet right now. Okay, so whenever you see a caftan, a big dress of some kind, we can credit that to Claire McCardle. Even the little jumper, this jumper that's in the center, I can talk about fashion all day long, like she can talk about health. But you know, I look at this little jumper, it's a bias cut dress, which means that when you're cutting fabric and you cut it on a slant at a certain way, the fabric will stretch, even though it is a woven fabric, it has more stretch to it, as well as these pants, these elephant pants. We were wearing elephant pants in the 70s. I remember making a lot of big bell bottoms, but elephant pants were was a lot wider legs. So this model on the left, I mean, and even she's Coco Chanel. There's a lot of elements in this picture here that are taking from different designers here. So here we have the elephant pants from Claire McCardle. We've got the long beads. There's Coco Chanel. You know, this is American. This looks American to me. This doesn't look like something that would come off a runway in Paris. So I just really want us to, you know, when we think about clothes, because I think about clothes all the time, we all have to put on something when we get up in the morning. Where did it come from? Who designed it? It was a woman. Okay. And she, you know, like I said, broke barriers. This is another person who unfortunately died early, you know, so she didn't really get her flowers, you know, but the impact that she has made on American fashion should not be forgotten at all. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this person is near and dear to me. This is Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. God rest her soul. She passed away in 2016. Her birthday was March 18th, so we always speak her name. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, you know, she came from a family of doctors. Okay, her father was a doctor, her grandfather was a doctor, and they were always in the community. They told her, when you go to college and you get your education, it's to come back and serve your community. It's not to go anywhere else. You come back and you serve your community. So that is what Dr. Frances did. And what she did was, when she was in school, she took up general and child psychology. So in her findings, she found that Black people were being treated a different way. And when she talked to them, they would say, oh, this is what's happening to me. And this is what's happening to me. And these people are being mean to me. And all this is happening. So she said, well, why? She asked the question of why. Okay, as a doctor, you always question. So she found, and she created, as she went about her studies, and she was, again, I have to say this because this is just how we come across answers. If you have a question and you ask why, don't dismiss it. Just put it on the back burner. You know, here we are talking about cooking. Put it on the back burner and let it simmer, because that answer will come to you. It will come to you eventually. So she had a question of, well, why are Black people being treated the way they are? Why are different people of color being treated differently? And so she started writing essays. She started questioning people. And she wrote her first essay, which was called The Cress Theory of Color Confrontation. Now, this is a little deep, and I really don't have the time to get into it, but what I would encourage, and I'm going to say this, I beseech thee, dear brethren, okay, to get this book and to read it. It is a hard read. It's not an easy one, but the beauty of YouTube is that you can find her, and she has lectures. She has several lectures that you can sit and listen. And she only has one topic. For however long she's been in practice, she only has one topic, and that's the only topic that she will speak on. But she gives you different examples of understanding racism, okay? This is a subject that we really don't like to talk about. We sometimes throw it under the rug, but in our present situation, if we don't understand what's going on in this world, then we'll forever be confused. If you're confused, you can't get anything done. Okay, so I would beseech thee, dear brethren, to buy this book. You can buy it on Amazon. You can go to your Black bookstores. They always have it on hand. Buy it, read it, buy a couple, have a reading group, because there's a lot of questions that we have. There's a lot of questions that we have on how we're being treated. And there's an answer. We just need to know the answers. I'm not confused. I'm not confused. I was studying, having some Black studies, and Dr. Kwaku Person Lynn, who is in Los Angeles, California, he had interviewed her, okay? And it's a recording, I believe. I have it on, he took it off of line, but he had it online, where she explained, and she said, you have to explain this to your children, because they don't understand what's going on. They don't understand why they're being treated this way. They don't understand why white people have a certain thing about what it is that they do. I really don't want to get into it, but I would really encourage, and I would love to talk to you about it, and definitely, I know I have shared some videos with some of you about her, but Google her on, not Google her, but look her up on YouTube. You know, you can find the half-hour, you can find the half-hour program. You can find the 3-hour program. You can find a 12-hour program on her. But I would encourage you. I would encourage you. This woman of history should not be forgotten. We have to pick up the mantle where she left off. She really, really has to. We really have to, for our own survival, for everyone's survival. I really feel that she's answered some questions that we all have. She answers some questions that we all have in the back of our head as to why this is happening in the world. And she does a stellar job. So next slide, please. So it is 11:16, and we have gone a little over, but I just want to thank you for joining us. This has been an awesome webinar. And I know if there's something that there's just one little thing that you've taken away from here today, it's made you a better person. So I would just like to thank the LA South Hope Foundation, where we are helping other people every day. Omni Community Alliance, Regina White, Kangen Water, Miss Isabel, thank you so much for letting us know about hydration. True Care Telehealth, Shamika, get your flowers, and Nurturing Chefs LA Incorporated. And where I'm a personal chef, I am advancing the kingdom through culinary intelligence. I thank you all so much for being here. Please, if you have any questions on any of these topics that were being offered here today, please get in touch with us. We would love to carry the conversation further. I thank you so much, and I look forward to speaking with you again, where we have wonderful information that we can share, and then we can elevate each other. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless everybody. Have a blessed day.